Hello, my name is Denise Wynne, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Human Givens approach to treating depression. Now, conventionally, if somebody thinks they're suffering from depression, they go to their GP, and the GP probably will ask them a variety of symptoms that they might be suffering from. They might also be asking them about whether there's depression in the family, whether a mother or father, sibling, aunt, uncle has had depression, and by which time perhaps the person is starting to feel even worse than when they came in. But then they might be told that the reason they have depression is because there's a chemical imbalance in their brain, and this can be put right. And of course, for a lot of people, that would be welcome news. Unfortunately, it's not true. It's been roundly disproved that there's a chemical imbalance in the brain that is the cause of depression. But there's still a lot of professionals who refer to this. And it does give people hope that if they take a pill, antidepressant, that this will deal with all their problems. Now, for some people, that does help them. Some people, it doesn't help at all. And where it doesn't help, even when there has been symptom relief, is in helping people to deal with future episodes of depression. This is where the Human Givens comes in, because we handle things very differently. We even start in a different place. So if somebody comes to see us and says they have depression, yes, we'll be, of course, interested in hearing their story and how they feel. But what we will be looking for is what needs are not being met in their life. Because the basis of the Human Givens approach is that we have certain essential emotional needs, which, unless they're met in balance and in sufficient amounts, actually leave us vulnerable to mental ill health. That's what causes mental ill health. And we also have some innate resources, important innate resources, that help us meet our needs. And sometimes these aren't working well for one reason or another, or perhaps we are unintentionally misusing some of those resources. So this is what, as Human Givens therapists, we're looking for when we hear a person's story. And that changes the relationship straight away, because we're not dealing with a victim, somebody who's got a condition that they can't help, but we are partners. We're looking at what's not working and why, and how we can change things. And that is a very active role for the client rather than a passive one. Also, what we do is we're able, because of what we teach on the day, help people to be able to handle any future attacks of depression, because something may happen and they may feel depressed, but they very quickly will be able to get themselves out of it, because they will have the techniques, what I like to call techniques for life. So on the day, what will we be doing? We will be taking a two-pronged approach. We'll be working through a case history of somebody with depression, but we'll also be able to see a film of Joe Griffin, who's one of the founders of the Human Givens approach and an absolute master therapist, working with a client with depression. And you'll see how quickly he gets that client out of depression and beyond. Where we're working with case history, what we will do is we'll be looking at the story that's been presented, but searching for the needs that are not met and the resources that maybe are not being used as well as they could. Having done that, of course, we need to know how we can address them. And there are specific ways we do that in the Human Givens approach, because there are certain methods that have been shown in literally thousands of studies to be the most effective ways of helping people out of depression. And the good thing about the Human Givens approach is that we draw on all of them. We don't stick to one approach only, as is often the case. So we will be looking at the case history that we'll have in front of us to see where and how we can use those methods to help this particular person. We will also be looking at other aspects of depression, such as the role of using one's own imagination in a positive way to help one in the future, and also to work better with memory, because it's very well known that in depression, people with depression tend to remember only the bad things that happen to them, so everything gets very skewed. But there are creative ways, for instance, that we can change that and help a person have access to the good things that happened in their lives and are still happening, but tend to get sidelined. So the film we'll be seeing throughout the day, and it's a very busy day. people find it a lot of fun, even though it's about depression. There's a lot of laughter. So I do hope you'll come along and join us.